The Greatest Hits is a movie that's coming to Hulu on April 12th, and let's talk about it.
Okay.
So, to summarize the film, it's been about 2 years since Max died in a car accident, and Harriet has found herself, after her being in an accident with him, transported to the various highlights of their relationship from the start to the middle, even the end, based off of what sounds, or rather what songs she hears that happen to be playing in that moment. For years, too, she has been trying to figure out a way to get transported back in time and, over the course of a song's length, try to change the course of history. Clearly, she has failed thus far. And on top of that, according to her friend Morris, in her pursuit of trying to save Max, she has alienated so many people. But also, what hasn't helped is when she gets transported back to the past, it looks like she's having a seizure in the present. But 2 years in, she still hasn't found the perfect song to get her to that sudden memory to perhaps really change things. And as she goes through grief counseling, or rather goes to a group meeting dealing with grief, she comes across a young man named David. David just lost his parents, and he tries to get close to Lucy. But the problem is, even though David really is putting in an effort to get to know her, build some kind of relationship, is he gonna be willing to really stick it out as Harriet is tempted to change the past rather than be active in the present? So, first highlight when it comes to the greatest hits, and honestly the only highlight, is that when it comes to the soundtrack, between recognizable names like Lana Del Rey, Nelly Furtado, and by the way, Nelly Furtado is also in the movie. What the greatest hits does best is give you a slew of songs from various genres that give you a reason to stick around, watch the end credits, just so you can take a few pictures of what the different songs were, so that when you get home, you can look it up on Spotify, YouTube, or whatever. And while we did find a Spotify playlist that seems to have some of the songs, it doesn't appear to be official, so we can't say for sure that the link in the description is the one that will give you every last single song, but it does seem to have a good amount of them. Which leads to the second and last topic, which is I'm torn. A part of me wants to put it as an on the fence thing because I'm a little about it, but it really can be a low point for some people. And the reason that I'm saying that it could be a low point is because when it comes to the greatest hits, in many ways, it doesn't feel like it's really trying to do what you need it to do. As a romance, it makes both Max and David a little bit too perfect. One of the strange things about the whole idea of Harriet always going to the past is that you never see her go to the past, and it's a moment when she was arguing or having any type of issue with Max. He's always allowed to be in this rose-colored glasses version of him, where the worst thing that we're told about him is that Morris didn't like his music and Harriet made it better. But outside of that, you don't see any type of issue about him not doing the dishes, him not putting the toilet seat down, or issues regarding their 4-year relationship in terms of, that possibility that maybe she wants kids and he doesn't, or vice versa, or anything to make him seem human. And in many ways, you see the same issue with David. David is someone who is trying to keep his parents' shop going, even though it doesn't really seem like he's into antiques. He's trying to make sure that everything's okay, or that he's still present with his sister, who is an adult. But, he's still trying to make it so that their parents are not the only thing that keeps them together. And again, he is so understanding for what Harriet goes through that it doesn't seem like a normal average dude's capacity levels. And what makes it even more worse is that when it comes to Max and when it comes to David, you don't really learn anything about them beyond little simple basic need to know stuff. And the same in many ways even goes for Harriet. Who she is outside of this little relationship triangle thing isn't really dove into. you don't really get to see, for example, David just lost his parents, but outside of one scene, it's not something he dwells on. It's not something he really seems affected by. And it seems weird that he puts all his emotional thoughts and efforts into Harriet. Max, as I just said, he's not someone that gets developed much either. He is just a perfect guy without any flaws besides one person not liking his music. And then Harriet, as much as you get on paper, she's mourning, she's struggling with moving on. They don't push her to be something more than a girlfriend stuck in the past. And it's frustrating because you can't really get into any of these relationships because of all this. You can't get into Max and Harriet because they're too perfect. And they're not perfect in a way that's cute, gives you butterflies. They're perfect in a way that seems unreal. And then when it comes to David and Harriet, because Max is always in the background, you can't really get into them. And after a certain point, it just seems like the writing for this was just about, let's make a cute story, give it a good soundtrack, but not make it so that anybody would have any reason to want any of these couples to be together. Which is why I would say, overall, while you can appreciate the soundtrack for the greatest hits, unfortunately, the characters lacking complexity and the romance between characters often feeling so bland because it lacks any type of conflict, even in times of like banter kind of flirting. It all just makes it so where it just isn't worth renting separately, and it makes me so glad for those who are interested. It'll be on Hulu, so if you already have it, you can just watch it, and if you don't have it, you can just get a trial with a random email account, watch it, and you didn't spend any money. You just lost time.